Hi, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Emily. I also go by Ty, and I am a indie writer slash artist, and this is Cricket. As you can tell, Cricket is a bearded dragon, and he's just one of my many pets. And today we are going to be reading some of the poetry from my poetry books for World Poetry Day. So the funny thing is that I actually didn't even really know that it was World Poetry Day until this morning. And I got a notification for it on writing, Twitter, etc. And I just figured I would make a video because I've done videos where I've read my poetry before and you guys really seem to enjoy them. So this one I'm going to just kind of read from both of my books, and yeah, you guys can leave me feedback in the comments below, or if you just want to purchase my books, totally okay if not. But yeah, I just wanted to have some poetry to share with the world for today, for World Poetry Day. And Cricket has always been my little reading buddy, writing buddy, because I'll just sit and I'll write while he's on my shoulder, or I'll read my Kindle or books while he's on my shoulder. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, I'm reading poetry with my lizard on World Poetry Day. The first book I'm going to share with you is called From Within a Broken Heart. It is a short 25 poem chat book. It's really small, as you can see, which is why it's only $5.99 on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. But yeah, this actually is a collection of poetry and writings that I actually wrote back when I was in high school. So it's a little blast from the past. And it's also cool because I used to only write in rhyme scheme. So this whole book is in rhyme scheme. And it's funny because I look back on it and I'm like, I could never write this nowadays. I'm so bad at writing rhyme scheme nowadays. I just am so used to writing free verse that it just doesn't flow to me as well anymore. So yeah, I'm gonna read maybe 2 or 3 poems from each book, depending on how long or short they are. But yeah, let's go. I've read this one before, but I'm gonna read it again anyways because it's a personal favorite from this book at least. It's called The Mask. Behind this face, you may see a man, strong and lean and sort of tan, with short dark hair and teeth that gleam, full of pride for he had a dream. At 10 he watched a lot of cartoons, they opened his mind with their silly tunes. 15 brought the boy sport and school, they taught him not to break any rules. Some time passed and 25 came, upon being a soldier he was never the same. From then until 30, the best years of his life, because he had met his darling wife. A son and 2 daughters brought joy to his heart, although during their time his dear wife had to part. And then came the day that marked 60 years, he didn't waste time to shed any tears. His eyes are now fading, and his children are grown. They continue the dream with young of their own. Now covered in wrinkles and hair stained white, soon will be my turn to go towards the light. But for now I must sit here, sit all alone, sit and endure your uppity tone. I've watched many live, I've watched many die, I simply watch as life passes by. But behind this face you may see a man, forever young, he is who I am. And the funny thing about that poem is that I was maybe 14 when I wrote it, so it's very interesting how deep it is, considering I was only 14 years old when I wrote it. This one I'm gonna read is called All That You Don't See. And so another thing about this book, that there is a trigger warning in the beginning. I wrote a lot of these poems during a time of my life that was just very dark and very depressing and sad. So I just wanted to put that out there. But the next poem I'm gonna read is called All That You Don't See. Deep inside there is someone who can't really find themselves. Because deep inside there is someone who wants to be someone else. Deep inside there is someone who's always angry and sad. Because deep inside there is someone who thinks they might be mad. Deep inside there is someone who dreams like there is no tomorrow. Because deep inside there is someone who is always filled with sorrow. As you can see, I used to be a very depressed teenager. But the next one I'm gonna read, this one doesn't really have a title. But yeah, I'm just gonna read it anyways. You may say that I am king, and one might think I know everything. You may say I make no mistake, and I will have you know that theory is fake. You may say I'm a petty man with no care in the world but my own, and you may believe I'm a selfish man with a carriage of silver and gold. But what you don't know is what really matters, that I do all in my power to keep my kingdom unshattered. I sacrificed my blood and I would give my life. I will lead you into battle with my hand on the knife. And I wrote that poem about leaders, and that it's really frustrating when you have a team leader or a manager or whoever the fuck it is that is very clearly not born to be a leader. And it's very frustrating, obviously. Yeah, so the last poem I'm gonna read is actually on the back of the book right here. And it's about growing up, and it's about aging, which kind of leads me into my next book, but I'll get to that in a moment. I had to grow up before my time, something most will not understand. I had to adjust to what you learn later on, a pebble surrounded by sand. I had to learn the way of the world at such an early age, and I had to learn to take care of myself, yet trapped within this cage. I had to learn to see the world through many different eyes. I also had to fight my fights despite my own small size. And nothing that I do or say can fix what they have done, so I must quietly sit here and wait for the rising sun. Which leads me into my next book about aging. So the next book that I have, this is a little bit longer. This was written by me, maybe in 2019, 2020, and then I added some work to it. It's called Older, and it's a poetry book about the grief and the loss and like a lot of the themes that come with getting older and aging and all that stuff that no one really talks about, and that no one really kind of no one really talks about it, if that makes any sense. Like, no one talks about the grief that comes with having to grow up. No one talks about that kind of form of loss, and that loss of childhood and that loss of innocence, and learning to accept change, learning to accept the people around you for who they are, and all that shit. So that's kind of what I wrote in this book here called Older. This is the second edition. This is the most recent edition out, with like a little author photo on the back. And there's a poem on the back, so you can kind of get an idea about, you know, the themes in the book. So considering this book is filled with a bunch of like shorter poems, as well as longer ones, I think I'm just gonna like flip to a random one and read whatever's on that page. Okay, let's see. Okay. Ooh, okay, this is a good one. This one I wrote actually about my OCD, and I wrote it in early college. OCD. I fear as though the world will end more than I should, and more than once a day. When thoughts flood my mind like a wave of craving and withdrawal, and every time the dam breaks, every time I succumb to my urges and compulsivity, another piece of me is gone. Let's go to number 2. Ooh, okay, this one's called Boomers. This one's actually like a short essay, kind of. Because in this book there's also like short little paragraphs and short essays about, you know, just things that I'm thinking, as well as poems. More like spoken word, if that makes any sense. But this one's called Boomers. Oftentimes we are told to respect our elders, simply because they have lived longer. But I've found that respect is to be earned rather than demanded of me, and whilst I choose not to engage with such people, I cannot help but come across them on a daily basis. They expect us to act like adults, but they treat us like children. They scream and act violently while we choose to have civilized conversations over our disagreements. We have been heavily criticized and bullied by these so-called adults over whether or not we even have a right to an opinion. And while they send threatening or vulgar messages over the internet, we choose to ignore them. And through all of this, I have learned that maturity does not come with age, but with experience. I think they are the ones who need to grow up. So yeah, that's a very interesting one. I wrote that about just being disrespected as a young person in my 20s and being told that I don't know what I'm talking about, that, you know, how could I experience depression because I'm so young, when in reality a lot of people don't know even a fraction of who I really am and my backstory, just like everyone else out there. So I just kind of got really sick and tired of it, so I wrote, let's see. Okay, big boots. I wear big boots just about every day, maybe because I like them, which I do, or maybe because I feel like I have to. Like they define who I am, like they protect me. Maybe because they make me strong. I don't really know anymore. This one I'm gonna read just because I really enjoy it. So I'm gonna like just read ones that I enjoy now. But anyways, this one's called Not That Girl. And this one I wrote about being a mid-sized model and being in the modeling industry and entertainment overall and being like kind of this public figure, even though obviously I'm not like famous or anything, but and I don't want to be, but just kind of being in that public eye a little bit. And it's called Not That Girl. I am not size 02. I am not pale as the moon or tall like an oak tree. I am not the girl with the sculpted jawline or the girl with the big blue eyes. I am not the girl with the long blonde hair or the girl with the perfect winged eyeliner. I am not the girl with the D breasts or the girl with the eyebrows sharp as a knife. So many things I will never see, and yet I can't stop wishing one day I will be. And I wrote that poem about when I was early on in the modeling industry, and I was just seeing all these other girls and wishing I looked like them, realizing that, you know, it was not only the toxic Asian beauty standard and the toxic, you know, white beauty standards, and very like Eurocentric beauty standards, but also just like beauty standards as a whole. Like, beauty is subjective, just like poetry is subjective. Like, you could hate my poetry, that's totally okay. I will not be offended, because at the end of the day, everyone has different tastes, and that's okay. And like, that's like the beautiful thing about it. Not everyone has to like my work the same way that not everyone has to think I'm attractive. This next one is called Alice. What happens when there is no magic in a world once filled with wonder and mystery? What happens when there is no prince and there is no white rabbit to lead the way? What happens when you have to grow up? How can you still be Alice in a world such as this? Can you? And this is the little like illustration that goes along with it. Okay, so the last one I'm gonna read is called You Talk Too Much. And it's about when I was in early childhood and I was told all the time, sorry, you can hear my bird in the background, you talk too much. This is what many people would come to say throughout my earliest days of childhood. For a majority of my youth, I was immersed in my animal books and fantasy novels to the point of self-destruction. The more I read, the more I had to say, and the more people got frustrated with me. Not knowing how to tell my little self to just shut up for once, and as time went on, I came to realize that. So the silence took over me. I went from talking too much to never at all in a matter of days, and in my young mind, I couldn't understand why they were still unhappy with me. Ooh, okay, I'm gonna read one more. This is kind of a long one, but it's just something that like, I had a lot of fun writing it, and it's also just was like, it's super funny. It's called My Sanctuary. And basically, the story behind this one is that I actually wrote it at an 8 a.m. class in college. And you know how in college you don't have like assigned seats, but like, that's my seat. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have assigned seats, but at the same time, like everyone kind of sits in the same place that they do throughout the year. Like, that's just kind of how it goes in some places. But anyways, this was basically about someone sitting in my seat in like the middle of the year. Like, it's not like they didn't know I sat there. So yeah, this is called My Sanctuary, and I just think it would be like, I don't know, I think you'll like it. My Sanctuary. Today someone sat in my seat. Considering I am a 20-something-year-old college student, you would think that this simple act would not upset me as much as it did. I had sat there every class since the semester started, and who was this person to think that they could steal my seat? Why now? Not only did this set forth to ruin my entire day, it also momentarily made me reconsider our friendship. Because it's not like he didn't know it was my seat. Oh, he knew. Maybe he did it to spite me, or maybe he was mad at me. Either way, it's not like I could say anything to make him move, considering this was such a small conflict. But oh, it was so much more than that for me. My seat is my sanctuary, my space, my corner. And with this ever-changing life, the only thing I could count on being the same. As small as it may be for the average person, these little things are always extremely significant for me. But I cannot control other people. I cannot expect them to bend to my every will and cater to my personal needs. And so I guess this is another lesson I must learn. I can only control myself and how I allow things to impact me through every aspect of life. And that is really about, that piece of like writing is actually really about learning to accept change, learning to accept that obviously you can't control other people. All you can do is control who you are and how you react to situations. And honestly, like, that's kind of just the mature way of looking at it. Like, you know, you could be mad at anything, but at the end of the day, it's how you react that shows your true character. And that's what that piece was about for me, you know, kind of having this a pivotal moment and, you know, learning that you can't control other people, honey. You know, like, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And at the end of the day, it's just about being able to control what you do and how you react and the lessons that you can learn from the situation overall as a whole. But anyways, yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you really enjoyed my poetry, like and subscribe just so you can, like, follow me, I guess. I don't know if you want to hear more about writing or just like writing tips or just things about poetry and fantasy and thriller overall. I'm currently in the process of writing 2 novels, fantasy and a dark romance / thriller. But if you want to know more about those things, check out the other videos on this channel. But I hope you have a really great day, and Cricket hopes you have a really great day too, if this will focus on his lovely face. Kind of. There we go. He is not amused. He's like, I'm hungry, Mom. But anyways, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and happy World Poetry Day, and write some poetry today. I also have these really cute typewriter poems. I don't know if you'll be able to see them from this angle, but they're in these cute little frames. The paper's blue just because that's what I had at the time, but the paper will most likely be white or some type of parchment like paper. But if you guys are interested in custom typewriter poems, I'm gonna add those to my coffee shop soon, and the link for that is like in my description. You can find that, you know, wherever. But yeah, so if you guys are interested in these are probably gonna be anywhere between like $5.99, $6.99, etc. So you'll get the frame, you'll get the little typewriter poem, and a custom like little note from me, etc. And these are just like a cute little gift. So bye.